My name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues here in Michigan, and today we're continuing our video series designed to educate and inform the public, so please subscribe to our channel. You know, a lot of people are under the impression that in Michigan, since it's a no-fault divorce state, and since the effort is made to fairly and equitably divide assets, that maybe the lawyers aren't necessary. After all, if we have two TVs of the same value, we can easily say, you take one, I'll take the other. Maybe that doesn't require, you know, any kind of lawyers, high-priced lawyers or otherwise, in order to do that. You know what? I would say in that situation, probably right. Probably don't need lawyers to divide up personal property like that. As a matter of fact, lawyers aren't interested in being involved in the division of your personal property. You've got two sets of dishes, you take one, let him take the other. Or you take half of one set, and he'll take half the other set, if that's how you want to be. Lawyers, generally speaking, don't want to get involved in that. But there is a place, there is a scenario where lawyers are very helpful in dividing up marital assets. And that has to do with, number one, determining what a marital asset is. And number two, determining what the value of that asset is. And number three, how much of that asset is marital, and therefore determining that piece and the value of that piece. See, those are instances where you might not know how to make that determination. Client called recently and said, well, you know, he had a house before the marriage, so he'll keep that one, and the house during the marriage, let me have that one. I mean, after all, he's got that one, so why don't I get this one? Fair is fair, we each have a house. Well, it doesn't work that way. The house before the marriage is off the table. The presumption is that that is not marital property. That doesn't go into the mix. Now we're only talking about the house that was bought during the marriage. But we have to figure out what the value is. Husband said the house is worth very little, and if I'm buying her out, I only want to give a small portion. Wife says, well, we have to do an assessment to figure it out, because I think the $1,200 value that he's putting on a house in Detroit, I think that that house is worth considerably more than that. As a matter of fact, when this client called, I said to her, what's the address? And I did a quick search, and it seemed like the house was worth about $60,000, not the $1,200 that the husband says he paid for it when he bought it at auction, before all the renovations were done, etc. So, in other words, that's a scenario where we could help the person determine what the value is. But another thing that caller didn't understand was that even the house that was acquired prior to the marriage, which is off the table to some degree. But one can argue that the value of the house at the time of the marriage is off the table, but the increase during the marriage, that could be a marital asset. So if the house was worth $100,000 on the day they got married, now when they're talking about getting divorced, it's now worth $150,000. There's an argument to be made that the $100,000 is off the table, but the $50,000 is a marital asset. It's an interest accumulation. It's an increase in the value of the investment. Of that $50,000, $25,000 is hers, $25,000 is his. Why should she give up that $25,000? This is a concept that the caller who we were speaking didn't even know that that was a possibility. The point is, lawyers can really shed light on what is a marital asset, what is portion of an asset is a non-marital asset, and what do we do with the portion that may well be marital. You see, this is where it comes very important. So people say, well, I don't want to pay $4,000 or $5,000 for a lawyer. We'll just divide this ourselves. Yeah, you divide yourself, saying, you know what, you're penny smart and dollar foolish because you just gave up an asset where $25,000 might have been coming your way. It's in the scenario, the example that I provided. So I would say this, it's very important to determine what the assets are. If it's personal property like stuff that you can replace at Home Depot or at a furniture store or Walmart, I would say you're probably right. That kind of movable stuff is something that maybe you can work out without the assistance of lawyers. But if you're talking about the value of businesses or even vehicles or homes, that's something that you would be very, very foolish in handling yourself, because the likelihood that you'll get the true result and the true value is dramatically greater if you have appropriate representation. If you have any questions about that, reach out and we'll be glad to help you out.